So things are going to get much more difficult. And this is something really important for everyone out there to note down, to remember, to make a note of. Because once we start doing a fast, once we say, okay, you know what, from today I'm going to do no contact, or from tomorrow I'm not going to smoke any more weed, or I'm not going to watch any more porn, or I'm going to quit the video games, or I'm going to cut down on the sugar and the pizza or whatever, I'm going to do no carbs. The moment we decide to start that, what happens is the next day or the following few days, we start to feel depressed, negative, empty, this lack, this hunger, this pain. And for most people, believe it or not, they do not link those two things together. They don't link the pain with the fact that they're going through this process. Most people think that the pain that they're feeling the next day or the following day is how their life is going to be forever now. And it's not. It's actually not. It's a deep thing. It's basically like, imagine you're going into a new state of living, right? And your body is going to adapt to it, is going to become comfortable with it. Basically, what you're going through is what humans hate the most, which is change. We hate it. It's uncomfortable. We've spent all this time, evolving or adapting to the new way that we are, to the new environment. Now, a lot of us, or what you or a lot of us have adapted to and become comfortable with and become at one with, is that heightened endorphin rush that we're getting when you're pleasuring yourself, jacking off every day, and getting that crazy explosion of endorphin rush, or whether you're smoking or you're doing the weed and you're getting the heightened senses from smoking weed, or whatever it is, the heightened rush that you get from sugar. Whatever it is, we have, everyone out there has gotten, that has become your baseline, your normal baseline. And so when you try to quit all these things, you're going to get this absence of those stimulating, amazing feelings. And it's going to feel gray, it's going to feel dark, it's going to feel lonely, it's going to feel empty, it's going to feel painful, but it's going to pass. And that's the key, that I would write this down. This is like in my own personal survival pack. I share this with everyone that I speak with. Have a survival pack of a few sentences to remind you when you're going through through the withdrawal. Have these statements. The first one is, this is not going to last, or this will pass. This too shall pass. Number one, it's not going to last. It's going to pass. Be strong. Be patient. You've been through much worse, if you really think about it. You've been through much worse pain. That's just what makes that pain that you're feeling so terrible, is the fear that it's going to last forever, is the fear that this is how everything's going to be now. And it's not. It's going to pass. And once it passes, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel so powerful, so confident, so strong, so free. And that's really what it is all those things that I mentioned earlier, whether it's sex addiction or smoking or weed or video games, they're all great. They're beautiful, wonderful things. But when we become overly dependent or addicted to them, we become slaves to those things, and we lose the most valuable thing any human can ever have, which is freedom. Freedom is the most valuable thing in existence, is that ability to be free. It's amazing. It's why people work hard to make a lot of money, because with a lot more money, you have the ability to be a lot more free and independent and powerful and be able to control things more. So the goal isn't even money, the goal is really freedom. Freedom to be healthier, freedom to choose, freedom to do the things that you wish to do. And if you're dependent or addicted on anything, whether it's even sugar or candy or ice cream or sex, you're still a slave. So you can be rich, you can be an Oprah Winfrey who's a slave to food addictions or whatever other addictions, or you can be poor but be absolutely healthy and free. And there's a sense of power that comes with that, confidence. It's amazing. So I want to emphasize this a lot in this video. What I want to emphasize is that on day one, when we start our fast, when we start, the journey of like freeing ourselves from whatever addictions it is, what happens really in our mind is we wake up and we feel the lack, we feel that emptiness, that darkness, the pain even, and we do not associate that with the journey we're on. We just suddenly forget that, oh, I'm feeling this pain because I've just started my fasting, and this is not going to last forever. So a lot of us, we wake up and we're like, oh man, life sucks like this. That's why I was doing the porn. That's why I was smoking the weed, because life sucks without it, which is false. It's not correct. What you're feeling is just a temporary withdrawal. It's a temporary change of state. You're going through a transition, and your body will adjust, your mind will adjust to your new conditions. And we want to adjust our baseline, we want to adjust to healthier conditions, to a more stable, lower baseline. Why? Because when we lower our baseline, then simpler things will have the same effect as previously much more ecstatic things. So like what I mean by that is, like, let's say you lower your baseline and you cut out Coke or candy and all these things. Well, once your body goes through that transition and you adapt and you go through the pain and the hardship and however long it takes, usually it's about 2 or 3 months, for our bodies to rejuvenate, recreate new cells and to establish that change. Our mind accepts that, okay, our environment has changed. Now let's adapt our body. I believe our bodies are so intelligent that we don't change like immediately, because there is good reason for us not adapting quickly, because maybe things will go back. So our body is like always wants to watch out and wants to keep an eye and say, hey, let's wait before we implement new changes. Let's wait. Let's see if is this really a new environment, or is this just a vacation for a day trip. So again, let me say it a third time. The pain that you're going to be going through and experiencing is temporary, and remember, it is because of what you've just done. Okay? So yes, you're going to remember, write a note to yourself. And this is my second important point. I've been using this with a lot of people I work with. I use this myself. It's unbelievably effective and very simple. 3 post-it notes. Just 3 post-it notes. When you break your fast, let's say you're gonna cut out porn, but then you relapse. When you relapse, I don't like that word, but I guess people out there know what it means, what it refers to. If you're trying to quit weed and then you relapse and you have some weed. If you're trying to quit sexting or video games and you go back into it, there is that feeling, right? It feels amazing when you, let's say, relapse, right? Let's say if you're doing no contact and you just want any excuse to contact your ex. When you break that rule and you contact them, or there is that interaction, it feels amazing. Even like when you snoop on your ex, if you just look at their social media, you feel this rush of connection, because you've reestablished that connection with the dependencies. You've run back to mommy. You've run back to the thing that you were trying to let go of, yeah? And it feels amazing. It's like you've just scratched an itch. It's like, it's this relief. But then very shortly after that feeling, you feel like shit, right? You feel terrible. You feel that darkness, that loneliness, that emptiness, which is the feeling that's trying to get you to quit those things in the first place. It's the feelings that have brought you to videos like this. It's the reason why so many people are trying to quit their horrible addictions, because the pleasure isn't worth the pain. But the problem is, as time goes by from us doing those things, let's say if I'm a week into NoFap, or a week away from not playing video games, or a week from sexting or dating or whatever it is, eating sugary foods, when I'm a week away from them, all that pain, all of those bad feelings that we get from those things, the darkness, the anxiety, the loneliness, the emptiness, all of that terrible stuff, we forget it. We forget all of it, and all we can remember is the good things. And that's why when I'm working with people through breakups, we have this thing called the Pupae List. It's the third most important rule of if you're trying to become free and independent from any addiction, including a breakup, is you write a Pupae List. You write a list of all the terrible things associated with that addiction to remind you of the truth, of the whole truth. So you don't just, because when people go through breakups, there's this crazy, interesting phenomenon that happens with humans. I have my own theories on why we do this, but we forget all the bad things. We only remember the good things, the good times, how cute that person was, how adorable, or how sexy, or how hot, or how awesome. And then as soon as we're back again, it doesn't take more than a few hours, even a day, everything else comes rushing back to us, and we realize, crap, no, I want to get away from this. So the 3 post-its is a variation of the technique, the Pupae List technique. It's much simpler, and the power of it comes from when you relapse, or if you relapse, or if you're about to start your fasting, you want to write some notes to yourself from when you're in that place of horrible pain and darkness after you've just relapsed. So let's say after you've broken no contact and you feel terrible, or after you've looked at your ex's Instagram or Facebook and then you feel that spike of satisfaction, but then you feel absolute misery and pain. When you're in that state of misery and pain, it could be even after you've eaten a bowl of ice cream. You feel amazing for that moment, but then there's that misery and pain, and you feel terrible. You hate yourself, right? The root of it is interesting. Some of the roots of those feelings are because it's self-hatred. It's like feeling that you're weak, that you can't be strong enough to see something out. That's a lot of that, why we feel that low confidence when we're addicted to things. We feel weak. We're slaves. Slaves are weak. They're not able to control their destiny. So we have this natural instinctual urge to get away from addictions for that reason, because we want to be strong. We want to be powerful. We want to be in control of our own freedom and independence, of our own life. So when we're in that horrible state after we've just eaten a bowl of ice cream, or looked at their Instagram, or watched the porn, and we feel terrible afterwards, that's the point where you've got to write little notes to yourself. You're going to write a note to your future self. Put it on 3 post-it notes. If you want to do more, that's fine, but you want to post them around your house, in front of your bathroom mirror, in front of your computer, wherever you are in your kitchen, where you can see them as reminders, and put them on the front of your doors. And on these notes, you want to be really frank with yourself. You want to talk to your future self. You want to say, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's dark. The feeling is terrible. The anxiety is unbearable. I feel like there's no future, there's no hope, it's a horrible feeling. Don't do it no matter what. No matter how badly you want to break it, this feeling is worse than what you're going through right now. So talking to your future self that way helps a lot, because there's no better coach out there than yourself. And you're going to word it to yourself better than anyone else can. So I would apply this little technique or trick or whatever you want to call it. Apply it. Put it on little post-it notes. Put them around your house. So that's an important, helpful tool along with the Pupae List. But let's rewind a little bit, because what's more important than all of this is your intention before you begin your fast, before you begin your new change, your mindset, like, I'm really going to do this. I'm really going to quit smoking, or I'm going to quit the ice cream, the bad foods, the sugary foods, or sexting, or whatever, porn, gaming. Your intention is important. Before you begin your fast, you want to set a clear intention, set a clear goal. If you're just going to be like, I'm going to quit smoking or quit gaming, it's good, but you want a goal. You want a clear intention. So what I mean by that is you want to say, you know what, I'm going to do 30 days of no porn, or I'm going to do 2 months or 3 months, or I'm going to do 6 months, or even better, I'm going to do a year, right? Pick something that you really feel you can achieve, that you are really going to make it. Okay, so if you want to start with a week, that's fine. Do that. Okay, if you want to start with 3 days, fine. But whatever you do, make sure that you accomplish it. Okay, I would suggest 3 months to break difficult dependency or addiction, whether it's no contact or minimum of 3 months. 6 months is even better. And yes, is it going to be hard? Yes, it's going to be hard. Your body is going to be adjusting and adapting, but eventually you are going to adapt, and you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel you're living in a totally different, unique way. Colors are going to be brighter. Your life's going to be open up more. Life is going to be very different. You're going to feel more free. You're going to feel everything is more open, bigger. Life is going to feel bigger. You're going to feel more confident out in the world, much less anxiety. You're going to feel so strong. You're going to feel more in control of things. So, yeah, those are just a few things. Where I live, unfortunately, my internet is ridiculously slow. So, I believe that I like this, there's a saying that with great difficulty comes opportunity. So I believe that it's going to be an opportunity that I have slow internet, because maybe it's going to help force me to do shorter videos so I can upload them more quickly. But I'm going to set this to upload now, and also forgive me for the lack of videos. I've just been training like a madman. There's a big fights, big competitions coming up, so I'm trying to get really prepared for all of that, and we're recovering some injuries now, which I'm doing much better now. But yeah, I'm doing a lot of sessions with people, so that's going. If people out there are interested in more information, you can contact me. And I also have a Patreon page that a lot of you are aware of. Thank you to those people who are supporting me on the Patreon. That's, everything helps. And I will be posting a video on there as well very shortly after this. So there's a lot of videos on there, and actually there's a lot of videos past videos that I have made that I never uploaded, and I have like a lot of those. So I'm going to be uploading all of those onto the Patreon page, as well as new videos as well. So thanks again for everyone who's tuning in. I hope these videos help. Keep that in mind, what I talked about. It's so important to be aware that things will get more difficult before they get better. That's just normal. It's natural. And be patient. Try to, if you can, get a friend or someone, even online, just someone who's going to help you be accountable, and you can check in with, and you can vent with, and say, oh, this is so hard. But they're going to help you, get through it all. And I'll be in touch soon. So adios for now, and sending everybody out there all the very best. Bye. Hey guys, just another very important point that I forgot to mention earlier. When it comes to going through these difficult addictions, I believe it's very hard to do this, to deprive yourself and fast. It's very possible. People do it. People can do it when they're dedicated. But in the world we live in, we're just to admit it, we're all very spoiled. 100 years ago, people were dying of rape, pillage, disease, war, brutal wars with swords and axes, and the world was horrible 100 years ago, 200 years ago, even worse. We live in heaven compared to that. Yes, there's still a lot of terrible things going on, but if you live in the West, you're living in paradise, in heaven, and our worries are really kind of very silly little worries compared to what people really worried about back then. So we are, since most of us are, we're kind of like spoiled, it's going to be hard to go through a fast, to deprive yourself of something that you're so dependent on and addicted to. And those points I mentioned earlier, yeah, they're going to help tremendously. They're going to remind you. But I also like to replace a bad addiction, a toxic addiction, replace it with a better addiction, healthier addiction. So let's say if you're trying to quit porn, and it's really messing up your life, making you miserable, well, you can replace it with a better addiction. A better addiction could be maybe ice cream, right? Or it could be chocolate. For me, I like 70% dark chocolate. I will increase that if I'm going to be quitting something difficult. So what you want to do is you want to transition. All right? I'm not going to give you a whole endless list of different transitions because it's going to take a long time to do it in this video. But what I just described is just a quick rough idea of what you can do. Is if you've got a terrible, let's say, heroin addiction, well then move to sex because maybe that's better than heroin. And then if you're trying to move from sex addiction off something else, well, move to food. Maybe that's going to be better. Eat whatever you want to eat, but then go to the gym and train. If you're trying to get off unhealthy eating, well then replace that. You don't want to replace that with sex or video games, or maybe video games is a good one. You don't want to replace that with heroin though, or smoking, or sex, because those are very strong, debilitating addictions. So you want to move away from the really hard, terrible ones that enslave you, and you want to move down the ladder. So, perhaps create a list of, hey, well, what are all the addictions, like from drugs to alcohol to smoking to weed to sex to video games to dark chocolate to food or whatever it's going to be, and then try to replace them with healthier addictions, moving in the right direction, basically. Okay, transitioning. For me, mixed martial arts, or boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, all of that, that's an addiction to me. I'm addicted to it, but it's a healthy addiction. It serves me, helps my body, helps my life, helps my mind. So I do believe that, hey, replace a bad addiction. Like let's say you're trying to break up and you're trying to avoid the snooping, like going on their social media. That's the addiction you're trying to break, or no contact. Well, great. We covered at the beginning of this video how to, some helpful tips that are going to help you, but then try to replace it. You're going to need to replace that with something. So not everyone needs to, by the way. Some people are very strong and can just withdraw and they'll heal fast. But if you feel like, no, you need help, well then replace it with, bring in the new addiction. It could be music, it can be movies. I'm going to binge watch movies because you need to give yourself a treat. So figure out a healthier treat and then go crazy with it. Give yourself a lot of that treat. It could be that you're going to, because you've eliminated this sort of thing that you were considering as your reward, like, oh, I'm going to go check on my ex now. That's my reward of the day. Or I'm going to go watch some porn, or whatever, smoke some weed. Instead of that, now give yourself a new reward. It could be, I'm going to watch movies. I'm going to go buy a new TV for myself, a 4K TV. and I'm going to get into 4K movies, or I'm going to get into video games, or I'm going to get into, whatever it is. If anyone has ideas, post them down below. Help everyone else. What are healthy addictions? All right? But the idea is to move in the right direction, right? At the pace that you know is going to help you and serve you. Some people are going to be able to hardcore it, beast mode it more. Some people are going to need the transitions, and they're going to need more help, right? All right, everybody. So, yeah, traveling is a good one. If you take away something, dive into a new addiction. It could be traveling. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to go here and there. All right, so give yourself a treat. Treat yourself. Be good to yourself. Spoil yourself, but spoil yourself with healthy things, okay? All right, everybody. Hope it helps, and adios for now.